Now, local news that matters. This is CBS 17 News.
Our breaking news coverage continues at 5:30. Protests growing across the nation after the U.S. Supreme Court strips away the constitutional protections for abortion that have stood for nearly half a century. Good evening, I'm Liz Ortiz.
And I'm Nick Sturdivant. We have been following developments since the decision was made this morning. And the decision by the court's conservative majority overturned the landmark Roe v. Wade ruling and is expected to lead to abortion bans in roughly half the states. Our
Washington correspondent Jesse Tenora joins us live from the nation's capital with today's historic decision and the latest reaction. Jesse, thank you. And although the Supreme Court made this ruling, abortion is still legal in North Carolina.
Yeah, it is likely to have an impact on abortion clinics around the state. CBS 17's Brea Hollingsworth continues our team coverage and is live outside of Planned Parenthood in Raleigh. Brea, these clinics say they are preparing for an increase in patients.
All right, Brea, thank you. And we'd like to hear from you. Do you agree with the Supreme Court's decision to overturn Roe versus Wade? Right now, most people are saying yes, 59% of you. To vote, it's easy. Just head over to the CBS 17 News app, click on the menu in the upper left-hand corner, and select CBS 17 Votes. And we will continue to monitor the protest and reaction from across the country. You can find much more on this breaking news story, including articles and videos right now on CBS17.com.
Topping tonight's 3 things to know. Democrats banded together to pass new gun control legislation in the wake of recent mass shootings in Buffalo, New York, and Uvalde, Texas. The House passed a Senate bill sending the first major gun control legislation in nearly 30 years to the White House to be signed into law. The bipartisan legislation will enhance gun background checks for people under the age of 21. It sets aside $750 million to give to states that implement red flag laws designed to temporarily seize guns from people considered dangerous. It also closes the so-called boyfriend loophole, preventing someone who has been convicted of domestic abuse but lives outside of a victim's home from buying a gun.
This bill is a compromise. It doesn't do everything I want. But what we are doing will save thousands of lives.
And the breakthrough came a day after the Supreme Court struck down a New York law that limited carrying guns outside the home.
The CDC recommends Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine for 6 to 17-year-olds. The doses will be officially cleared once the CDC's director okays the recommendation. Recent data shows hospitalizations of children 5 and older during the Omicron variant were worse than those seen during flu season. And Publix will not offer the COVID-19 vaccine to children under 5. The company hasn't given a reason why, but says it is offering the vaccine to adults and some kids above 5. FDA and CDC bosses gave the green light for kids under that age last week.
We are waiting for a decision by the World Health Organization on whether or not monkeypox should be considered a global health emergency. That's the same level of alert given to COVID-19. North Carolina has one confirmed case already. It is unclear where the case was detected. The outbreak is impacting more than 40 countries worldwide. Monkeypox infections usually last around 2 to 4 weeks and include symptoms similar to the flu, along with a rash of fluid-filled bumps.
A memorial service was held today for the victims of the Surfside condo collapse in Florida. Today marks 1 year since the building collapsed, killing 98 people. Families of the victims and first responders gathered at that site. First Lady Jill Biden was also there and offered comfort to those who lost their loved ones. The former mayor of Surfside says he's frustrated with the investigation, which is now in the hands of the National Institute of Standards and Technology. The investigation is not expected to finish until 2024.
We've got residents of condos all throughout Surfside and all throughout Miami that are wondering if their building's going to fall down too.
A judge has approved a $1 billion settlement that will come from several sources, including insurance and engineering companies and a luxury condominium recently built next door. None of the parties admit any wrongdoing in the collapse.
Ukrainian forces are leaving a city in the country's east after weeks of fighting. It's an area that has been under relentless attack by Russian forces. Ukrainian forces were ordered to leave to prevent any further casualties. Russia has shifted its focus to another region where Ukraine has fought Moscow-backed separatists since 2014. And the European Union has agreed to make Ukraine a candidate for EU membership. Ukraine applied for it less than a week after Russia's invasion in February. To be admitted, Ukraine will have to curb government corruption and adopt other reforms. The process could take years or even decades.
Aftershocks continue in Afghanistan as the death toll rises from that powerful earthquake this week. Officials say 1,150 people have died, including many children, since that magnitude 6 earthquake struck eastern Afghanistan on Wednesday. The region is already grappling with a high poverty rate and an economic crisis after countries pulled back critical funding in the wake of the Taliban's takeover. Now to a traffic alert tonight on a section of I-40 East in Durham. Police are at an accident on the interstate just west of Highway 55. 3 of the 4 lanes have just reopened. The shoulder still closed, and you can see traffic moving very slow at this time. There are injury reports. We're working to get more information, but giving you a live look at our drive map, you can see the red and orange on the map there. So if you can avoid that area for now, would be best. A big event that's been canceled the last couple of years is coming back to downtown Raleigh this weekend. Yeah,
we will look ahead to the Out Raleigh Pride celebration and what organizers are expecting coming up at 6. And sending unarmed responders to mental health calls. It is a move that begins in one community that has been plagued by crime. Our Crystal Price shows us the pilot program that's been in the works for a year.
And just ahead, a political ad states North Carolina is one of the worst states in the nation for human trafficking. But do Cheri Beasley's numbers add up? CBS 17's Jody McCreary is fact-checking her ad in the U.S. Senate campaign coming up. You're watching CBS 17, local news that matters.
One of the main issues of Democrat Cheri Beasley's U.S. Senate campaign has been keeping you safe. Many of her ads focus on human trafficking and her work setting up the one court here that deals with those cases.
Tonight, CBS 17's digital reporter Jody McCreary is fact-checking her numbers and whether she is taking too much credit for it. All right, Jody, thank you. Duke's Lemur Center is getting a big honor.
Yeah, the Association of Zoos and Aquariums inspected the center to maintain its certification. The center passed with a perfect score. The Duke Lemur Center is only the 5th center to receive that honor. If you don't know, the Lemur Center has more than 200 animals and is home to the world's largest and most diverse population of lemurs outside of their native Madagascar. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, the warmer weather means many homeowners are rolling up their sleeves and unfortunately mowing the yard on a regular basis.
It's got to get done, right? But higher gas prices and drought conditions have some trading the typical lawn for grass that needs to never be cut. Many western states are in the midst of a mega drought, and some cities now have major water restrictions, which will likely cause many yards to turn brown. To deal with it, some are trading their real grass for the synthetic kind. The job costs around $5,000. Some companies say the demand is so high, they're already dealing with back orders.
Really comes down to time, water, and money. They want to save their weekends, not mowing. They want to cut back on water.
Artificial grass has come a long way since AstroTurf was introduced in the 1960s. Some lawns are even made out of a mix of coconut fibers that make it feel almost like grass, and it doesn't get hot. That doesn't sound like a bad idea, especially with how hot it's been.
I have flashbacks to my childhood where I had to mow the grass in the heat. I don't want any of those.
Fun fact about AstroTurf, and I tell this to everyone moving here or visiting here, it was invented in the 1960s in RTP.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, fun fact.
Yep, tuck it away. Whip that out on party night, you will be the hit.
The Army is offering a bonus for those who are fast on their feet.
CBS 17's Bill Young has the offer in tonight's Job Alert. All right, so streaming giant Netflix is laying off 300 more employees, impacting 3% of its workforce. In all, 11,000 full-time employees are now looking for another job. The company announced in April that it lost subscribers for the first time in more than a decade. Netflix's stock plummeted roughly 70% this year. All right, Rod, you look like you're ready for 6.
Yeah.